A very warm good afternoon to everyone. So today I'm gonna talk about a judgment which I recently read. So this one is one of my favorite judgment, which is pronounced by Mr. Justice G.R. Swaminathan sir from MADURAI bench of Madras High Court. So it is dated on 7th 1st of 2022, and the number of the case is Crl OP MD number 11021 of 2021 and Crl MP number 5632 of 2021. So this is between George Ponnaiah, petitioner, and versus the Inspector of Police, Arumanai Police Station, Kanyakumari District, Kanyakumari. So here in the prior of the petitioner is that criminal original petition filed under section 482 of CVRPC to call for the records pertaining to the first information report in crime number 377 of 2021 dated 27/21 and quash the same as illegal as against the petitioner alone. Okay, so here the order starts with an album which was mentioned by the honorable judge. So the justice has mentioned that In Kadala is an album from Naatpadu Thiral, which is a poem which is written by Vairamuthu, and it has been visualized in such a way that it contributes something to the humanity, and it states about how people should be with the environment and should love plants and every other natural being which is created by the God. So he starts off mentioning that En Kadala album, and next one he goes with Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's novel Anandamat, and Bande Mataram was composed in her honor. So he talks about Bharat Mata and how important it is for every Indian, and how important it is for people of Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma to quote out the importance of Bharat Mata. Brief paragraph, the translation of the poem written by Aurobindo, Maharishi Aurobindo, and he states everything which is related to the motherland and what and how it is important to people of India. And Bharat Mata temple at Varanasi was constructed in 1936. So he mentions about that, and it was opened and inaugurated by Gandhiji himself. And he speaks about Esakiyamma temple. So the judge herein quotes out that there are many places where you can get to find the deity, the idol of Bharat Mata, either in the form of an idol worshipped as a deity or as a Indian map, undivided India. The petitioner here is a priest of Catholic Church who actually had a meeting inside the premises of church, where many people were gathered in for the speech. So the church priest, he started to abuse Hinduism, he started to abuse Bharat Mata, he started to abuse our honorable Prime Minister and our honorable Home Minister. It goes on, the list goes on. So he was charged for a criminal intimidation and also for disturbing the peace between two religious community. And herein the section involved are 143 of IPC and 153A of IPC, 295A, 505(2), 506(1) and 269 of IPC, and section 3 of Epidemic Diseases Act 1897. So these are the sections which are involved in this case. And after talking about the Esakiyamma temple, one noted scholar, Sri Aravindan Neelakandan, made his observation. He also intervened and stated his facts and his concern towards the issue. And M.F. Hussain, one of the famous portrait artists, he has painted Bharat Mata in a beautiful way on the occasion of 50th anniversary of Indian independence. And Shoaib Daniel, in his article, has quoted a conversation between K.M. Munshi and Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. How can one become patriotic? K.M. Munshi asked this question. So Aurobindo Ghosh replied that Do you see this map? It is not the portrait of Bharat Mata. Its cities and mountains, rivers and jungles from her physical body. All her children are her nerves, large and small. Concentrate on Bharat as living mother. Worship her with ninefold bhakti. So people who are religious, who are sentimental, who are very dedicated towards the country, they consider Bharat Mata as a deity. So constitution was adopted, made into a secular constitution, but there are two parts for it. I mean, the two way which a person sees constitution and the nation itself. So it is civic nationalism and religious nationalism. So civic nationalism and religious nationalism are just like the yin and yang. So if you ask people like Shashi Tharoor, he might say like the white part, the yang represents civic nationalism and the black part represents yin, the religious nationalism. So while a civic nationalist believe in India as a secular conception with the constitution as its guiding light, to a religious nationalist, India is Bharat Mata. So to a civic nationalist, it is just a country, but to a religious nationalist, Bharat Mata is a deity. Arumanai, a village in western Kanyakumari District, on 18th July 21, after the lockdown was announced. So this Catholic priest, he was very frustrated with the lockdown and he was very much irritated and he wanted the churches to be open. So he started to abuse Hindus and Hinduism in the meeting which was conducted inside the church campus. So that was totally irrelevant. There are few paragraphs which I went through the order and I really wanted to quote them in the precise words. So that itself what the tagline of my channel is. So, but we wear shoes. Why? Because the filth of Bharat Mata should not contaminate us. The Tamil Nadu government has given us free footwear. This Bhumi Devi is dangerous. You could catch scabies from it. These were the precise words which was used by the priest, and now that is criminally intimidating and it is an insult to the whole of the community of Hindus. Not just Hindus, he is insulting the whole of the nation and the people who are really dedicated and patriotic towards the country. We are now majority in the district. From 42% we have crossed 62%. Soon we would be 70%. You cannot stop us. I am saying this as a warning to my Hindu brothers. So the priest actually he is warning the Hindus and he is threatening to say that we will convert every people who is there in India to be Christians. Especially in Kanyakumari district, it is now 50% ratio, 50 Hindus and 50 non-Hindus. That's how it has been. But when the census is taken back long in 80s, it was just the reverse, like Hindus was the majority there. Now it has been reversed. So that's how it is happening here. So the last days of Modi are going to be pathetic. I gave it in writing. If the God we worship is true God, living God, the history should see Modi and Amit Shah being eaten by dogs and worms. So this notorious and hatred comment was passed by the priest, and I don't know how he would give an explanation to these words. So the crime number 377 of 2021 got attracted to the above mentioned sections 143, 153A, 295A, 505 subsection 2, 506 subsection 1 and 269 of IPC and section 3 of Epidemic Diseases Act 1897. So when the counsel for the petitioner appeared, he said that even famous personalities, famous public figures and leaders have actually abused, and it is just out of frustration and it is their freedom of speech. Why not a case was filed back then which should be considered now? And they also gave some supporting cases. Here when mentioning about the leaders who abused Hinduism, he has quoted Dr. Ambedkar and Sri E.V. Ramasamy too, Periyar as in we call. So the cases which was supportively mentioned by the councillors: AR 1987 SC 748 Bijoy Emmanuel and others versus State of Kerala and others, 1971 Criminal Law Journal 1773 Lalai Singh Yadav and others versus State of UP, 1971 Criminal Law Journal 324 Gopal Vinayak Godse versus Union of India, 2007 Criminal Law Journal 1195 Subal Kumar Dey versus State of Tripura and 2010 5 SEC 600 Kushbu versus Kanyakumari. So these are the supporting cases which was presented by the counsel appearing for the petitioner. So the counsel which was appearing for the intervener, one Mr. Neelakandan I mentioned, right? Sri Charan Rangarajan was the counsel who appeared, and he has stated some cases which is really important and should be gone through. Lord Steinin R versus Secretary of State for the Home Department, ex parte SIMMS and other, 1999, 3 WLR 328, and 2021 1 SEC 1 Amish Devangan versus Union of India. It is to be noted that one other counsel which appeared for the respondent has Miss Victoria Gauri. She has quoted the best words from Vishnu Purana. Vishnu Purana was composed in the year 400 BCE. Uttaram yat samudrasya himadras chaiva dakshinam varsham tad bharatam nama bharatiya yatra santatihi, meaning to the north of the ocean and to the south of the Himalayas, Bharat is the country and the people born there are the Bharatis. In Ramayana, Lord Ram exclaimed, Janani Janma Bhumimscha Sarvagattabi Garyasi, meaning mother and motherland are more precious than the great heaven. There is a daily prayer, Samudra Vasine Devi Parvata Sathana Mandale Vishnupattini Namastubhyam Padasparsham Shamaswami, O Mother Earth, O Devi, you who have the ocean as your garments and the mountains as your bosom, O consort of Lord Vishnu, salutations to you. Please forgive to the touch of my feet on your holy body. Hindus consider Bharat Mata, Bhumi Devi, as a precious deity and one who is worshipable and the best. But the priest has totally made an aversive comment to this. And here in section 143 of IPC is obviously not attracted. Sections which was mentioned in the FIR will be left out and will be quashed because it does not attract to it. So hence 269 of IPC and section 3 of Epidemic Diseases Act 1897 also could not have been invoked against the accused. Section 506(1) of IPC will not also be attracted because the speech was made from a platform and no affected person had complained that he felt criminally intimidated. So this speech was conducted in the premises of a church, and he was standing on a platform, and therefore few sections were neglected as it didn't attract to the case. So Ramjilal Modi versus State of UP, AR 1957 SC 620. It was held therein that this provision does not penalize any and every act of insult or attempt to insult the religion or the religious beliefs of a class of citizen, but only those acts of insults or those varieties of attempts to insult the religion or the religious beliefs of a class of citizens which are perpetrated with the deliberate and malicious intention of outraging the religious feelings of that class. Not all the words of hatred is being taken into consideration when it comes to this section. Bhuma Devi is considered as goddess by all believing Hindus. I use the expression believing because even materialistics and rationalists and non-believers also can be counted as Hindus. Some point which is to be really noted is the following sentence which is being mentioned by the Honourable Justice. Sometime even the great iconoclast and rationalist Periyar did not cease to be a Hindu. Yes, Periyar never claimed that I am not a Hindu anymore. He rather said that I am not E.V. Ramasamy Naikar anymore. He just cut off the Naikar alone and he nowhere stated that I am not a Hindu anymore. Even one temple in Erode, which is a Hindu Playar temple, is being run by the family of Periyar. So that belongs to them. The judge has quoted about 153A and 505(2) of IPC, whether it is attracted or not. Priest who spoke on the stage, he mentioned something trivial and which is very serious. He opened his speech as follows. I was born into a Hindu family. My grandfather was a Hindu. Since he thought it fit that his daughter should leave his gutter, he gave her hands in the marriage of a Christian father. If not for this marriage, I would have been a possessed man ringing bells at some Sudalaimadan Swami temple. The Christian faith gave us liberation. Hence, we shall continue evangelize this faith. He was deliberately mentioning about Sudalaimadan Swami temple, and he was very much insulting, stating that ringing a bell in such a divine temple is more like a menial job. That's what he was trying to mention and quote out. Mandaikad Amban caught fire owing to the deficiency in mantra puja. It is understandable because he, the Brahmin priest, chants in Sanskrit. He chants the same mantra at a wedding which he chants at the funeral. The fire breakout was bound to happen. He was totally abusing and insulting Hindus in every manner possibly. Mano Tangaraja goes to the Susindram temple. Can he not enter the temple wearing a shirt? Would we allow someone who looks like he is returned in a towel after bathing in a pond to enter our church? We would say, get out, you tweak. Christianity has taught you to wear a shirt, but you go in without a shirt? Glad you at least wore a veshti. He was commenting even the apparels and the dresses which was worn by the Hindus before entering the temple. Every temple has its own rule and its own belief and its own history. You can't just blindly comment about something which you never knew. So when the intervener, Mr. Neelakandan, he narrated about his childhood incident and memory, wherein he stated that he was born and brought up in a Christian dominated society. He was beginning to feel the betrayal when something happened to him, and I'll quote out the exact words. The beginning of all these things go to the kings of Travancore who allowed missionary works for the political gains. They saved territory all right, but they lost the souls. This is a point where Mahatma Gandhi and Veer Savarkar had converged. The lost territory could be gained from the enemy. Souls lost to the enemy, that is very difficult to recover. Those who fight against conversions do not regard Jesus as false god or even a foreign god. They actually fight against the monopolistic claim that he is the only god and all other gods and goddesses are false. So that's where we want to keep track of what the Honorable Judge is saying. We don't oppose Jesus, we simply oppose the way these evangelists try to convert people who are really into Hinduism. Finally, they even had the audacity to propose the change of the name of the district from Kanyakumari to Kannimeri, and there was a plan to change Nagarkovil to Yesunadar Kovil. In fact, there had been a partial success in sometimes even in official communications, Kanyakumari gets the spelling Kanyakumeri, and Nagarkovil is officially Nagarkoil, C-O-I-L. So he was born and brought up in such a village where it was dominated by the Christians. Either way, people of the district just suffered. But remember, the physical violence starts with psychological violence, and psychological violence comes from the violence embedded in the propaganda. Hate speech is not religious propaganda. Hate speech is a sin against any truly spiritual tradition. When the great comrades contested the evangelical dispensation and the Islamist politicians came together and communal propaganda was launched to defeat one of the greatest leaders of Tamil society. Imagine Catholics of Ireland under the Protestant UK. Think of their troubled history. Imagine Ahmadiyas in a Sunni-dominated Pakistan. They cannot even call themselves Muslim. Imagine Protestants in a Catholic majority society. Then imagine all these minorities in a Hindu majority society. There was discrimination right after the invasion of the Christians and these missionaries into Tamil Nadu, especially down south, and most of them were in Kerala. Honorable Mr. Justice P. Venugopal Commission, which was constituted following the communal riots that took place in the year 1982, Madaikad in Kanyakumari District. The fact a large number of scheduled caste Hindus, though having converted to Christianity and professing the said religion, call themselves Hindus on record for the purpose of availing reservations. Such persons are called as crypto-Christians. And he also said that I didn't want to mention one of the judges who was a Christian who got converted to the Christianity but was claiming and using the reservation benefits which is given to the Hindus, and at the time of death he was cremated, he was buried in the cemetery according to the rituals and practice of Christians and not as a Hindu, but he was using all the beneficial rights which was given to the Hindus and all the reservational benefits too. He saw a drama wherein it was about Saint Xavier. Saint Xavier is a saint, that's what they claim. But when they were showcasing and playing the drama, Saint Xavier would pull out the wife of the priest and he would expose before the people stating, this is how your God is speaking all these days, and they are faking. So if you are a true person who wants God, get to convert to Christianity, and Jesus is the only God. Not just that, Saint Xavier, he made an inquisition. There is this inquisition of Goa which is really worse, and you will feel really pity onto how these things were happening in India. He killed lakhs and lakhs of Hindus, and he used a breast stripper, wherein if people who fail to convert to Christianity, he will tear off the breast of women, and he eventually led men of Christianity to rape and kill Hindu women. He also led the Portuguese to rape the women who are pregnant too. So Goa Inquisition is something which we should see as a separate video. So let's get back to the judgment. So autobiography of B. Sen, the great lawyer who practiced in the Privy Council and was one of the earliest members of Supreme Court bar, he mentioned that I had been drawn towards Christianity from my childhood days, but was somewhat put off when I saw how some of the missionaries in the same of discipline practiced such subject cruelty in little charges in the schools run by them. I had often asked myself, where was that love, the compassion and forgiveness which one found in the Bible times out of the number? Some years later, I had found the answer in the east of London amidst the bombed out houses. Then I knew that Christianity really meant to be. I had gone along with Rev. Dempster, a Methodist priest, on a tour of the devastated areas, visiting bereaved families and bringing succor to the sick and wounded. People had flocked around him in profound respect for that love of his humanity. From that time, I started reading the Bible on a daily basis and saying the Lord's Prayer every morning. But I knew that I had to wait for a call from him. I felt that call had come within the encircling gloom of the dilapidated church at Srinagar. Dilip Kumar became A.R. Rahman. Yuvan Shankar Raja is now a Muslim, and one of the son of T.R. Kurlarasan has embraced Islam. So now when a person gets to convert to another religion out of his own interest and out of his own curiosity and belief, now that's agreeable. But when you force someone to get them to convert, is something really outrageous. He referred to the writings of Dr. Ambedkar, who had condemned Hindu religion and society amongst the possible terms. This contention is liable to be rejected in the light of following observation in Amish Devgan. Communities with a history of deprivation, oppression and persecution may sometimes speak in relation to their lived experiences, resulting in the words and tone being harsher and more critical than usual. Their historical experience often comes to be accepted by the society as the rule, resulting in their words losing the gravity that they otherwise deserve. In such a situation, it is likely for persons from these communities to reject the tent of civility, and as polemical speech and symbols that capture the emotional loading can play a strong role in mobilizing. Such speech should be viewed not from position of a person of privilege or a community without such a historical experience, but rather the court should be more circumspect when penalizing such speech. This is a recognition of the denial of dignity in the past, and the effort should be reconciliatory. So herein the judge mentions that quoting out Ambedkar and Periyar won't let him escape from what he has committed. When Periyar and Ambedkar quoted, they went out their anger and their frustration and what they faced in their personal life. Rather, here, this was not something which was faced by the priest. He actually made something out of his own hands, and it was not at all necessary. Charles Darwin, Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, Dabolkar, M.M. Kaluburgi, and many such others in public life and discourse. Dr. Abraham T. Coover, who wrote the book Begone Godmen, Encounters with Spiritual Fraud, cannot be said to have outraged the religious beliefs of Hindu. See, when someone is a rationalist or a Periyarist or atheist, he should not be biased. He should comment on every religion and rather not target Hindus alone. But the fact that he belonged to Christianity is utterly irrelevant. When stand-up comedians Munawar Farooqi and Alexander Babu perform on stage, they are exercising their fundamental right to poke fun at others. Again, their religious identity is irrelevant. It is here who and where tests matter. Section 295A of IPC cannot be invoked in such cases because the element of malice is wholly absent. The persons concerned voice their opinions or give vent to the expression and in their capacity as satirists. On the other hand, an evangelist like the petitioner cannot claim a similar privilege. He cannot insult or outrage other religion or the religious beliefs, still claim immunity from the application of Section 295A, 153A and 505(2) of IPC. This is because he views the other religions' constituency to be poached. He cannot be called a disinterested or a neutral commentator. The targeted religionists are bound to take offense as they fear potential harm to their interests and well-being. In such an ambience, the Newton's third law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, may start operating. The state cannot remain a mute spectator in such situations. To hold the sanctity of the Constitution, the offending speech of the petitioner prima facie attracts the offences under Section 153A, 295A and 505(2) of IPC. However, the offences under 143, 269, 5061 of IPC and Section 3 of Epidemic Diseases Act 1897, the impugned FIR is squashed to this limit extent as far as the petitioner is concerned. The criminal original interpretation is partly. After reading Paul Johnson's book, he describes as a biography from a believer. Beloved, let us love one another because love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. I shall post the link of the judgment along with this in the description box. So these are some of the points which we should be noting before getting to conclude what this judgment is all about. This is a fantastic judgment because lately there was a movie called Rudratandam 2 was something similar to this. So we should definitely wait patiently. So until we get to meet in another video, just bye.